Welcome to College Football Monday, a Sons of Saturday podcast brought to you by Jack and Coke. I'm your host, PB. I've got Sam Jesse here. Sam and I were rushing right up to the last second to try to get this as close to 8 p.m. as possible. This is our College Football Monday show, meaning it's our national show. We do our normal Hokies Under the Influence show on Wednesdays. This week, that's going to be coming tomorrow night. We're going to record that because we got a Friday game, but tonight is all about the national landscape with, as usual, a heavy dose of what the Hokies were up to this week, which was, Sam, a bye week.
Hey, didn't lose.
We did not lose. In
How
fact,
about that?
In a lot of ways regarding college football in general, we won because there was a lot of good games on.
Yeah, it was a good day for the Hokies to sit inside, watch a movie, not do too much.
Absolutely. So in this episode, we're going to recap all the Week 8 action, get into some coaching carousel talk, VT Corner. We will do that. We're going to discuss some candidates, the latest on Shane Beamer, and that saga, as I'll call it. Mm-hmm. Go over some of this year's surprise teams a little bit later in the show, and we'll give you our playoff teams as we do each and every week. For now, Sam, I need you to give us a cheers.
My cheers tonight. And I don't have a beer. I drank way too much beer this weekend just sitting on my ass watching football. So we're going to do a couple of days with no beer before I get after it on Friday with the boys in Blacksburg. So we just got water tonight. But my cheers is to soup in soup season. Soups and stews and bisques. I just love soup and I love soup season. And we have entered it, it feels like. So cheers to soup. My top 5, tomato basil, French onion, she crab, lobster bisque, and number 1. If you're a Virginian, you know this, Brunswick stew. It's my number 1. Everyone's family, if you're from Virginia, family has a Brunswick stew recipe. Well, one of my favorite things I've ever eaten is my Meemaw's Brunswick stew.
So. I have heard of that. Cheers. I don't know
I just had some for dinner, and that's why I thought about it. I should have just brought the bowl to do the cheers.
Forget spooky season. It's soupy season. I was just at a apple orchard festival type thing this past weekend, and they had a whole row of soups that you could get while you were at the festival.
That's my dream. That's my dream. I am in horror movie mode. It's been
you were texting about the new Black Phone.
I did go see Black Phone 2. That was phenomenal. You should go see it if you're into it. Go see it in theaters because the cinematography that crew does is unreal. They do a bunch on this old Super 8 cameras that are really creepy. It's awesome.
Nice. So make sure you hop in the chat, ask us any questions, like the video. Liking the video really helps us, believe it or not, and it's very easy for you to do. We should hit 5,000 subscribers on the Sons of Saturday channel before the end of the season. Maybe it would take into December. We will see. But by the time we have a new coach, we could very well have 5,000 subscribers. So we appreciate anyone who's not subscribed to do that for us. Week 8, Sam. I'm going to call this one Shake 'em Up Saturday because 5 of the top 11 teams lost. We also had 9 top 25 teams lose this past weekend. Now, some of those teams played other top 25 teams, but nevertheless, that's a high percentage of the top 25 that went down this weekend. USC, Memphis, Utah, and Nebraska all dropped out of the rankings. Michigan comes in at number 25, and USC is number 26 if you go to the receiving votes, and you'll note that USC crushed Michigan. So the AP voters are at it again. We're here. It's always about what have you done for me lately, because USC drops that game this weekend to Notre Dame. But at number 1, we've got Ohio State. Indiana is your new number 2 in the AP poll. A&M, Bama, Georgia, Oregon, and Georgia Tech, the highest ranked ACC team, at number 7.
That's crazy, dude. And it's at no point this year has Georgia Tech been that's the number 7 team in the country. But here they are. And that's kind of what they do. It's a summation of what Haynes King has been like. You watch him play and you're like, oh, this guy's not that good. And then you look up and he just scored 3 more touchdowns.
It's in this age of college football, when the conferences are as big as they are, the schedule matters just as much as to how good of a football team you have.
Yes.
and GT hasn't had the toughest schedule so far. Miami drops to number 9 after losing to Louisville on Friday. UVA survives a big scare from Wazoo, moves up to number 16. They moved up several spots, Sam, to number 16 after that performance. Louisville at number 19 after their big win. So 4 ACC teams are ranked once again. We do a little bit of eating our own with Louisville beating Miami. They hop up in there. Vandy moves to number 10 after beating LSU. Notre Dame to 12 after covering against USC. Mizzou and Tennessee survive. Oklahoma bounces back in a big way against Scar. Arizona State back in the rankings, one of Sam's favorites after their huge upset over another one of Sam's favorites in Texas Tech. I jinxed the Red Raiders, man. I jinxed them.
I had a feeling. We'll talk about that game, but I had a feeling about this one. Yeah.
BYU takes down Utah to move to number 11. And finally, Memphis. No. Why Memphis?
The dead cat bounce that you have from the coach and UAB, man, they must have hated Trent Dilfer. That's the best game UAB has played
since they opened the stadium.
I mean, at least a decade.
Remember when they had, or maybe they lost that one.
Remember when they didn't have a football program?
Yeah. True. I mean, Dilfer was a disaster. And I'm happy for them, but Memphis being both of our playoff pick and going down like that the week before the big matchup, which we do see, right? Like they have USF next week. They were clearly looking ahead. They were huge favorites and they blew it.
We'll talk more about that as we later in the show.
Before we get to our top 5 game segment, coaching carousel, Florida fires Billy Napier.
Get out of here.
He was 22-23 in his time at Florida. I made the joke on Twitter, like how much better his record was than Brent Pryce at Virginia Tech.
It is also kind of crazy that they have fired 4 coaches since Urban Meyer. And 2 of those coaches have made SEC championship games. It feels like they're it feels bigger than a head coach problem at Florida. I think there is
it does seem that way.
It's
hard to blame
toxic
the AD.
Waters in those swamps.
No, it is okay. So you blame the AD because Florida's football's number 1 in Florida, right? Like that's what people want to win at. They just won a natty in basketball. So it's like, how do you complain? But like they love football and they're going to complain.
Yeah.
I don't know. But so that opens up the biggest job on the board. Probably above Penn State. Sam and I talked a little bit about that. Depending on your point of view, most people think Florida's the best job available right now, with Penn State just behind it. We got word also that Luke Fickell is being retained. Or at least they're going to invest more. The AD gave him full support. He's lost 10 straight power conference games.
They haven't scored a point in a long time.
They've gotten blanked 2 weeks in a row.
And they traveled to Oregon this week. When was the last time a power conference team was shut out 3 weeks in a row? Has that ever happened? There might be a chance that's never.
Yeah, it's probably happened because there's been a lot of years of college football, but a program as proud as Wisconsin doing it is, I mean, when you think about the fact that Tech hasn't been, and now I'm going to screw myself, but like we have the scoring streak, right?
No, Pete.
We
had one thing going for us.
Might as well get rid of it all this year. But no, I didn't. I tried not to say the other part of it. I just said we have a scoring streak going. For Wisconsin to get blanked 2 weeks in a row to the likes of Iowa, Ohio State's excusable. Ohio State has a good defense, but like, not that Iowa doesn't. It's just like, how do you not score a point when you're getting blown out just in garbage time or something? But anyway, Fickell's being retained, which is just, it's sad. I feel bad for the Wisconsin fans because they are such good fans. It's a great program historically, and there's no hope. Like, I don't see him digging out of this hole.
Yeah, and it feels very similar to Virginia Tech, where the fans feel like they've been, what is happening on the field doesn't match what's happening in the stands. Now, the stands were pretty empty for large parts of that game against Ohio State. And a lot of that red you saw in the stands might have actually just been Ohio State Scarlet. But they're in a weird position where everybody in their conference now has money. And they're not in a hot recruiting bed place. And they're not really an attractive destination school either for a lot of recruits in the South or Texas or California, et cetera, right? So it's like you have to find an identity that works for you. And they went total 180 away from that identity. Like they completely left it in the dust. And now you don't have anything. And it's like whoever gets that job, I think needs to say, we're just going to play old school Wisconsin. And if we go 8-4 every year, so be it, because the alternative is really, really bad.
Yeah. We're going to get to this question a little bit later. GJP, is Miami still a playoff team? We're going to talk about that. They could be. They also might not be because they got at least one more very tough game left on their schedule. And same gentleman here, JGP or lady, GJP. What do you guys think about Texas A&M? Feels like the national media is, I think he means quiet on them.
Yep. That
we'll talk about that as well once we cover their game. But they're one of those undefeated teams that it's like, where do they fit in? Are they actually a national title contender? They might be. So we'll get into that as well. As for the rest of the coaching carousel news, FSU also put out a statement in support of Mike Norvell today, which after the Stanford game, I was expecting him to be fired Sunday morning or this morning, Sam, and it hasn't happened. And now we get this, what I took as kind of a weaker support than the fickle one. It was, we're going to do a comprehensive assessment at the end of the year was the way it was worded from their AD with regard to Norvell. They've lost 9 straight ACC games. So I said, Wisconsin's lost 10 straight power games. Florida State's lost 9 straight ACC games. So it's bad on both. And honestly, both of their tenures have run their course. Like it is the writing is on the wall. It's just like the buyouts are too expensive for those two schools. That's really what it comes down to.
This is going to sound like a joke, like a witty one-liner from me, but I actually mean it seriously. Is Florida State going to do the Saudi Arabia thing? I had like an hour-long conversation joking, with my dad about this.
I can't help but laugh.
Is Florida State going to, because they've made this whole hullabaloo about being in the ACC, and like their value is still very, very high, but it's not getting higher. And if you put their like brand value, their TV value, if you put them in the SEC or the Big Ten, like they're not top 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And so it's like, where are they, if they want to be like a juggernaut financially?
What happened to Florida State with the undefeated season, the injury to Travis, and then the suing of the conference, like they angered the gods. But just in reality, like they got the rug pulled on them, right? Like they go undefeated and then they have this historically bad season. It's similar in nature to what's happening in South Carolina. Like they have a great year last year. They extend Shane and then like the rug gets pulled. Like, and to an extent with South Carolina, like it was a little predictable this year that they were going to struggle. With Florida State, no one expected them to go 2-10 last year. And I didn't expect them to bounce back and go out to Stanford and lose this year on the heels of 2 other losses. So it has just gone south so quickly after that undefeated year for them.
So since 2016, which was the last like good Jimbo Fisher year, he got fired the next year. Since 2016, when they won the Orange Bowl. Since then, how many 8-win seasons do they have?
Since 2016?
Actually, yeah, 8 or more wins since 2016. So 2017 till last year, till today, because they're not going to get it this year.
I'll say, the way you're framing the question, I'll say 1.
They have 2.
Okay.
But they missed a bowl in 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons since then. They have not made a bowl game.
Yeah, you can't miss a bowl at Florida State. And guess what?
It's significantly worse than Virginia Tech.
Yeah, like how are they going to make a bowl this year?
I don't think they do.
Going on?
I don't think they do. Like
they
at
just
this
lost
point,
to Stanford, dude, and we haven't even detailed a single game yet. But the way that game ended was bizarre, but they were down 20-10 before it was ever even in question. I mean, they were getting their butts kicked.
I mean, I think they have home games against Virginia Tech and Wake Forest. Do they split those games?
Not like based on what we saw last year with when it goes south, it goes really south. No, no, they don't.
They host Wake Forest. They travel to Clemson. They host Virginia Tech. They travel to NC State. They travel to Florida. Do they have 3 wins in there?
No,
I don't know if they do. Not the way this defense is playing. Man,
it's crazy. Like we've said it multiple times already, but the best team in the SEC losing to what is now one of the worst teams in the ACC in Florida State is one of the most hilarious results that we'll ever have in college football.
And I'll give a shout out to Stanford and Andrew Luck because they have gotten like from where they were when they played Hawaii week 0 up to where they are now, just infinitesimally better.
Yep.
Like every single week they've made these little teeny improvements week after week. And here they are. I don't think they're a good team by any means, but like they're serviceable. And to call back to Wisconsin being shut out potentially 3 weeks in a row, 1922 LSU were shut out 3 consecutive games. They were shut out 5 times that season, including shut out to Mississippi A&M and Loyola, Louisiana.
What Oregon just did to Rutgers
is,
and then you think about them playing Wisconsin.
The spread is like 31.5, and I think it'll get ballooned up to like 40. And I don't know if that's enough.
Yeah. Anyway, Florida State, I don't know what they're doing. I think whether it's Sam's question is a joke or not, they will find the money. It may come from Saudi Arabia.
It might come from Saudi Arabia.
It may come from some other big donors, but they will find the money because the end of the season is going to get ugly. They cannot bring Mike Norvell back. They really couldn't have brought him back after last year. And this was like, okay, let's just get to a 6-6 season so we don't have to pay the buyout and we can like try to build back up. No, like it's done. It's history. And I would say the same thing about Fickle. And those teams just don't have the money. They don't have the money to buy him out. That's what those statements were today. We give up because we screwed up. We screwed up with the contracts.
Fickle signed a contract like 7 months ago.
So did Shane too. And like that's something we'll get into a little bit later because there's UNC, I think, could come open. Auburn, like that is looking like it's going to come open more and more every week. Like we still know what NC State's going to do. Michigan State, LSU, like LSU schedule's tough and they already hate Kelly.
I'm pretty confident NC State will not fire their coach because of solely because of the coaching market this offseason.
Yep. All right, let's move to some games, man, because we're 18 minutes in. We got to talk about some games. Miami goes down at home to Louisville, 24-21. Classic Brom game. Just a classic to a T Brom game. First 2 drives were things of beauty for Louisville. They were up 14-0 in 10 minutes. Miami was trying to fight back the whole time. Beck threw 2 interceptions in the second quarter, but then the Canes were actually able to make it 14-10 at the half. Really more of the same, though, from Miami in the second half. 3 straight punts to start the third. They both added field goals, both teams, and then it was 17-13 going into the fourth. Louisville scored quickly on the pass to Bell, who had a huge night, 24-13 Louisville, and then they had the critical fumble. It opened a window of opportunity right after they had intercepted Beck. That handed Miami an easy score. It's 24-21 after a 2-point conversion, and they forced Louisville to punt. And they're driving the ball. And then just a terrible throw that even if the receiver was supposed to run the right route, which Beck threw his receiver under the bus after the game, it got tipped at the line. So the pass was already doomed. 4th interception for Beck on the game. And that was it. Top 5 upset for Jeff Brom and the Cards. Miami had won 10 straight at Hard Rock before that game. So great win by Louisville. It was their defense, though, that stood out.
Yeah, I mean, their pass defense was bad last year, very bad. And it was their biggest question mark heading into this season. And it was also without Gillette, was it? Is his last name? The defensive end?
The defensive end.
He was their pass rush last year. So what are they going to do without him? And they've kind of pieced it together. And this was the first week I really felt like you saw all of the pieces of those defense come together. And Carson Beck can't throw under pressure. This was the first game he was really pressured. Miami can't really run the ball that well either. And so it's like, get the ball to Tony or else you're kind of in trouble. And that worked for Miami really well in this game. But yeah, like you said, Louisville's defense was the star of the show all night long. They kept making big plays. Even in a game where I felt Miami looked like at points they were going to take control of this game and find some touchdowns and find some rhythm, just kept throwing interceptions.
Yeah. It was they couldn't run the ball. And that was the most impressive part that Louisville was able to do, is hold them to the 63 rush yards. And that's without a sack. Like, they didn't have a sack and they still held them to that low of a rushing total. Whereas Isaac Brown for Louisville was awesome. 115 yards for him, 7.5 yards a carry. He did an amazing job of running away from Ruben Bain and running away from Mesidor. Like, it was schemed up really well. Again, coming back to Jeff Brom. Chris Bell, 9 receptions for 136, 2 touchdowns. Miami secondary didn't have an answer for him. Louisville kind of thrust itself into this ACC race now. They're 5-1.
Yeah.
They're only 2-1 in the conference. They still have a bunch of conference games to play, but they kind of seemed like they might be headed for a no man's land kind of year. Mm-hmm. And this win now is like, okay, they have a ceiling that is pretty high. If you get good stuff out of Moss and a great night from the defense, like, who knows what they can do. Does this loss change your opinion of Miami, to go back to GJP's question?
So in some ways, yes, because I think they are more susceptible to poor performances than we maybe thought they were, because we were thinking, man, their line of scrimmage is so good, they're going to figure it out. But they kind of got bullied on the line of scrimmage for parts of this game. And Alex says annual Miami collapse starts now. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think this is still a really good team who had a game in which their quarterback kept throwing the other team the ball, and they still only lost by 3. Most teams, if their quarterback throws 4 interceptions, they're losing by 3 scores, not 3 points.
True. I think it's a little bit more than a speed bump, though, because what it did is it exposed Carson Beck a little bit. I had him in my top 5 quarterbacks, which, as this game was unfolding, I'm like ripping my hair out. Like I literally, like 2 days before the game, I'm like, he's my number 2 quarterback going into any game. He has all these top 5 wins. And it's not that I wasn't a little concerned about the arm. There were a little bit of concerns about the arm in the prior games, but there was bad weather. They still won. He has a great history, and every week it should be getting stronger. In this type of game, when you need to make critical throw after critical throw, his arm, it's not the same. The zip is not there. And we saw it a little bit against Florida. In this game, it was on full display. And he had a bad game. He was pressured, and he struggled mightily under that pressure. Some of that we saw at Georgia, but obviously Georgia is pretty loaded up most years, so it doesn't get exposed that much. And Miami has a great offensive line. But in games where he's going to get pressured, in games against good opponents, this could happen again. They have to go to SMU later in the year. This game was at home, Sam. I mean, and they've been great in that home, despite what you want to say about the Miami fan base. They show up for those kind of big games. And this was a shockwave for me as like a Beck backer. Like, he's not in my top 5 quarterbacks after this. Like, you throw 4 interceptions in a game, he was on Brett's list too. I bet you Brett has him out of the top 5. He's not in my top 5. I might rather have Julian Sane in there. I might rather have a lot of other guys that we talked about. Marcel Reed, on my list instead of Carson Beck.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, what it does is it puts that much more pressure on their road trips to SMU, to Virginia Tech, and to Pittsburgh. Like, those have to be wins, because if they lose one of those games, I don't know if they make the ACC title game with 2 losses this year. I don't think it happens. And if you don't make the ACC title game, you're not getting into the playoff. Like, it's going to be like what happened last year. So now they kind of have to win out. And that's a really uncomfortable spot to be in middle of October. Like, there's a lot of football left. and you got to take some road trips, and you haven't really had to take road trips yet this year, I think there is a lot more pressure on Miami's performances now because it felt like they had a little bit of wiggle room. I don't think they have that anymore.
No. Just a final note on Louisville. Thomas Train says, I can't believe they lost to UVA. And
Sam, 2 defensive touchdowns and you're in overtime. I mean, that's crazy. UVA is the Golden Horseshoe team this year, and credit to them. But yep,
that could come to a halt in the coming weeks as well. Georgia was behind to Ole Miss most of the game, but turned it on in the fourth quarter, won 43-35. They covered the spread. And this was seriously such a back and forth game for a long time. It was a fun game. And then the fourth quarter hit. They outscored Ole Miss 17-0 in the final frame. Chambliss was running. He was throwing over 300 total yards, 3 total touchdowns, and 88.4 QBR. And he was the second best quarterback in this game because Gunnar Stockton, what did you think about his performance in this one?
I mean, he was pretty close to flawless. And if you remember like the old Nick Saban teams where their quarterback didn't have to be great, they just had to like get the ball to their playmakers, don't make mistakes, run the offense. And he does that so well, but because he also does it with some of the more advanced spread offenses that we've seen, he can like do his job and, get the ball to his playmakers, play action pass, and score 43 points while at it. And I don't think he's very good. Like, I don't think he's an NFL quarterback, but Georgia won national titles with guys just like him.
And maybe not as good.
Maybe not. I mean,
he just has a knack for.
He also ran the ball.
Oh, dude, he ran the ball great. I mean, he has a knack for coming through. Like, threw for 289 in the game, ran for 59, had 5 total touchdowns, dude. 5 total touchdowns.
Georgia had a 68% success rate in this game. I will have to look, but that might be one of the highest in a power conference versus power conference game that you ever see.
It was not a great day for defense until Georgia clamped down in the fourth, because on 16 plays for Ole Miss in the fourth quarter, they had 13 yards. They averaged less than 1 yard per play. That included 2 3-and-outs. This isn't the old Georgia, but in some ways they are, because they find ways to win against every team not named Alabama.
So are you familiar with what stop rate is for a defense? It's pretty simple, right? It's the percentage of a drive for your opponent's drives that ends in a punt, turnover, or turnover on downs. Do you want to guess at what Ole Miss's stop rate was for this game in terms of stopping the Bulldogs offense, excuse me?
The stop rate, I would guess
like what percent of drives for Georgia ended in a punt, turnover, or turnover on downs?
Percentage of drives, like 10%.
You're close, 0%. You're close.
You set me up for that.
I mean, it's like, yay, Georgia, good job, Georgia. Ole Miss, bro. Like defensively, you literally needed one stop, and you didn't get it.
That's what makes next weekend's game so interesting, because Ole Miss is playing Oklahoma, who we know has a tremendous defense and a sputtering offense when John Mateer is not super on his game. And they play each other, and it's going to be, and it's so pivotal too. Like, at least it could be. It's going to be very, very interesting. But Georgia, great win. I picked them to cover. I didn't seem like they were going to do it until the very end, and they managed to do it. Tough loss for Lane, but they'll be back at it this weekend. Notre Dame firmly back in the playoff race after beating USC 34-24. This was a tight game through the half, 14-13 Notre Dame at the break. Then they scored after a long drive. That goes to 21-13 Notre Dame. USC battled back, though. They scored 10 straight thanks to that long pass, right? They had a lead. It was very, very short-lived because of the 100-yard kickoff return, 27-24 Irish after that. Then came the turnovers for USC.
Oh, my goodness.
Dude, they had the interception by Gray, who had been maligned by penalties, but then he gets the big interception. And then they do the play to Lemon where he's like pushed back and then gets stripped. And it was all but locked up after that. I mean, they kind of just, I don't know if they got desperate or what.
I think it was when they took the lead and then he immediately missed 2 tackles on kickoff return. Like 2 tackles that need to be made. They missed and it's a touchdown. It's like, that's it.
Yep.
It did feel like that's it. And I feel like that Lincoln Riley overthought the fourth quarter big time.
Yes.
And it's like, dude, you're a really good team. You don't need to get that tricky with it. Like mano-y-mano, your athletes are just as good, if not better, than everybody you play. You don't have to out-scheme everybody. Sometimes you can just line up and play football. And when you take into account that they were playing a very good team who has a lot of speed on defense, and you're playing them on the road in a rainstorm, like it's Lincoln Riley sometimes has a tendency to play the games like he's playing a video game and not an actual football game.
Yeah.
And this was one of those games.
Jeremiah Love was ridiculous, though.
He's so good. Oh my gosh, he's so good.
228 yards, 9.5 yards per carry. Heisman moment, potentially. He has some more work to do, but this was big.
I mean, I could see a Heisman 3 finalists of Jeremiah Love, Diego Pavia, and Fernando Mendoza. That if I had to pick 3 people right now that are going to end up in New York, that's it.
He's going to have to keep putting up yardage, but with their remaining schedule,
I think he will.
It's possible. It is possible. CJ Carr had his worst game of the season. Maeva had an 88 QBR, and it didn't matter because Maeva threw 2 interceptions. And I mentioned this on our QB segment last week because we all liked Maeva. I think all but maybe one of us had him in our top 5. Maybe all of us did. He throws picks in every important game. I said it last week. That's my one concern with him is every time they have a hard game, he throws at least 1 pick. Well, in this game, he threw 2. And if it wasn't for all those pass interference calls early, this might have not even been that close. I mean, USC benefited from a lot of Notre Dame penalties. And they played tough. They did. But they're just not tougher than a team like Notre Dame right now.
Yeah. No, I'd agree. I'm in the words of Brian Clough, I believe, who is a English football manager and player. He has one of the greatest quotes in sports history. We had a good team on paper, but unfortunately, the game was played on grass.
It's a good one. Thomas Train, ND has an elite O-line and 2 backs that are so good. And that's true. We knew that coming into the year.
This Notre Dame team reminds me of the Browns playoff team with Baker, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, and that defense. And then like a wide receiver by committee, couple of good tight. Like there's nothing really flashy about their team, but you're like, God, please do anything, but just hand the ball off time and time again.
This is
play action off of that. That's kind of what it feels like.
This has kind of been Notre Dame for 4 years. I mean, it goes back a little ways with not necessarily having the weapons on the outside or having injuries on the outside and having to rely, like even when they had Sam Hartman, they were like reduced at the wide receiving core.
Yeah.
And then Riley Leonard comes in and you know what he's really good at. And so like, and it gets it done because they usually have a great offensive line and Marcus Freeman knows how to win these tight games more often than not.
Yeah. Marcus Freeman is making us forget his losses to Marshall and Northern Illinois pretty quickly.
He is. I mean, he had the what was it? The Ohio State loss, which was like, it was close and like he could have won this a couple years.
They didn't
back.
have enough players on the field twice in that
right.
game. Yeah.
But he was also a young learning head coach. As he's gotten more into his career, like the flaws are becoming less and less. And he goes out against Miami with a new starting quarterback, you know, CJ Carr, young guy. Carr performs well. The team performs well. They lose, but it came right down to the wire. Texas A&M, same thing this year. And Texas A&M's undefeated. They're really, really freaking good. So this Notre Dame team is right there. If they had scheduled slightly easier, they'd be undefeated.
Yeah, the good news for them though is they feel like they are in, if not in, right on the cusp of the playoff, and their schedule kind of is not too terrible
They
right
shouldn't
now, and
lose
it's
another game. They
a
shouldn't.
lot easier than everybody else who's in or right on the cusp of the playoff. So for me, they are like the team that is next up to slide in at worst case scenario.
10-2 Notre Dame gets in the playoff. It's Notre Dame, and their 2 losses will be better than anyone else's 2 losses out there. They're gonna get in. Regardless, I know the schedule's not super tough outside of that, but they just beat a very good USC team. This was huge.
It's interesting what that does to Miami's resume now with a loss. I mean, that win against Notre Dame looks pretty darn good.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And that'll come back when we do our playoff segment. Good point, Sam. Texas Tech loses to Arizona State. Will Hammond had to start for Texas Tech. That is the backup. And it wasn't great, at least not at first. They punted on their first 4 drives, then had a turnover on downs. Finally, they scored midway through the second to take a 7-6 lead because Arizona State was having their own problems putting it in the end zone. And it was 9-7 ASU at the half. Then Hammond threw the critical interception in the third. Arizona State scores off that. It's 16-7, then 19-7 Arizona State. And it really seemed like that was probably going to be it. But Texas Tech inexplicably came alive. They scored, they get that long TD drive, and then they get a great punt return to set them up again. And they take a lead. But Sam Leavitt was back, and Sam Leavitt drove them 75 yards in a minute and 26 and punched in the 1-yard run. 26-22 is how it ended. And I'm just trying to go over it, but the last end of this game was just crazy.
Insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, unfortunately for Texas Tech, this was kind of going to happen with they had a few key injuries this week. Obviously, the quarterback going down. They had a couple of defensive injuries as well. It just felt like a game where they weren't going to be up for it. Not up for it emotionally, but like you're not going to play at that high level over and over again. And now the week that you have some injury issues, you go on the road to play probably the other playoff contending team in your conference in Arizona State, who is getting their star quarterback back. Like it did not set up well for Texas Tech. And when you go the first 5 drives of the game with no points, tough to win after that.
We need to come up with a term for this type of loss because you can call it like a spot loss, like spot in the season, or a circumstance loss. But like that's what it was. It just felt like, okay, this ain't gonna go right. And
yeah, and it wasn't like it's not like they weren't prepared for this game. And
no, they had a lead late.
Playing a very good team too.
Yeah. With a backup quarterback.
Yeah. And against the team who like this is Sam Leavitt is one of those quarterbacks who can will your team to a touchdown drive at points, no matter who he's playing. I don't know. I mean, maybe this is like we'll have to think of it because it's not a schedule loss, really.
No, it's not. It's just like one of those like, yeah, you're not going to get that one. And you can't really explain exactly why, but there are some factors.
It's almost like a Gurr Mondays loss.
A case of the Mondays loss?
Yeah, it's just like it's not your day. Like you spill coffee on your way to work. You forget your lunch at home. Like it's just one of those days. It
not your day loss.
AWS happens to go down that day, and the whole world stops. Like it's one of those that you can't do anything about it. You move on, right?
AWS loss. And this is why we talked about Leavitt in the top 5 quarterbacks segment. He didn't make any of our lists, but we talked about him because he had 319 yards. He makes the game-winning drive. And he just came through in the clutch because he was able to make a few more plays despite coming off his own injury. And so Texas Tech offense wasn't there. You got to credit the Arizona State defense because they kept Dickey in check. Hammond had to scramble a lot. And that's another thing that comes out of this game. I jokingly said, like, is Morton the best quarterback on the roster? I think he probably is. Like this kind of makes you think like Morton's probably the best quarterback on that roster because Hammond did so good against Utah. It kind of made people think about it.
Yeah. And this was another weird one where like on a play-by-play basis, I think Texas Tech actually played a pretty good game offensively. it's just like every time they needed that, okay, now you need like one more chunk play on this drive to get into scoring range, or you need like one stop on defense. They didn't get it. And again, one of those days where it's like, shoot, like critical moment didn't come through. And it's a great win by Arizona State, who now is, it does, I'll say it this way. This feels like the Big 12 title game, part 1, right? I mean, BYU is still there.
Very well could be, yeah.
But
they're right back in the race now. Like Arizona State, depending on Levitt's health status, was like, I don't know, their season could be kind of like a wash. Well, not anymore. Like they're in the race.
Yeah, Arizona State also ran 96 plays in this game. Texas Tech only 77. So it's a lot of time on the field for a beat up Texas Tech defense.
Staying on the topic of the Big 12, Holy War. It was a bear fight, but only one team had a bear. And that was BYU, 24-21. The color rush was incredible. The uniforms, the way they
Gorgeous.
looked, popping, cameras were not a potato. It was crystal clear. And this was a real defensive battle for a while until the teams exploded for 28 points in the fourth quarter. I would say that BYU controlled the game. Is that how it felt to you?
It felt like Utah was always going to have to stage some sort of fourth quarter rally to win. I don't know if it was that BYU was in control in terms of playing the game better, but it did feel like every critical play went BYU's way. And and as you watch the game, you're like, oh, like Utah's going to need something weird to happen here to win this game. And they didn't get it.
I did not expect BYU to kind of dictate the game the way they did. Like I was flip-flopping on who to take in this game. I texted you guys about it. And in the end, I was just like, Utah just played amazingly well against Arizona State, which that win actually ages good. I know Levitt wasn't in the game, but like they crushed them. Yeah. And then BYU was down 10 points late to Arizona. Now I know they won the game, but like based on what I had just seen, it seemed like Utah would come in. Maybe they wouldn't cover, but they'd win the game, and it wouldn't look like this. Bear Bachmeier was the difference. And we might need to come up with a term for like when a guy's a dog, and like a bear seems, if you're a real dog, a bear is now the term, right? Like,
yeah, because I like that. You're a bear.
Yeah, like Diego Pavia is a bear.
Yes, I agree with that. I think this game also came down to fourth down decisions and fourth downs for Utah.
That's true.
Their first drive of the game, 12 plays, 81 yards, 0 points. They had a drive in the second quarter, 10 plays, 47 yards, 0 points. That can't happen.
No, it can't.
It just can't. And they had another play. I'm sorry, I missed one. Third quarter, 9 plays, 66 yards, 0 points. You lost by 3.
Yeah, they were terrible.
And you're playing at altitude as well. So you have an extra like 5-6 yards on that field goal attempt. Man, take points in a low scoring game. I just feel like this is one where if Kyle Whittingham kind of let his offense down.
I mean, they weren't good on third down, but 1 of 5 on fourth down is pretty unconscionable. Like you're not going for it on fourth down unless it's pretty reasonable, right? Like that's typically how it goes, unless you're in desperation mode. And they were 1 of 5, and like that really could be why they lost the game, because Dampier was solid. He doesn't seem to have that extra gear that like the elite quarterbacks have. I mean, he certainly doesn't.
He's a little beat up too. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if it's coming through in the passing game. I don't know exactly what injury he has, but he doesn't look super comfortable throwing the football right now.
No,
and there were some throws that he just just didn't look good.
That and Utah, on top of the fourth down thing, they made a lot of mistakes. I mean, they had 12 penalties. They had 2 turnovers. BYU made almost no mistakes. I mean, they really did.
I don't think BYU had a penalty called on them until late in the third quarter.
I think they had like 1 penalty in the game. And Bear, it doesn't show up on the stat sheet necessarily. He had 166 passing, 64 rushing, ho hum. But when you watch the game and he's taking shot after shot,
Yeah,
hard running,
got a
2
little
touchdowns. I mean,
got a little Haynes King in him.
he does. He's
Very Haynes
young
King-esque.
Haynes King, and he might be better than Haynes King. He's got to prove it for longer. But dude, what he's done the last couple weeks is really impressive. They're undefeated because of him. Like, that's it.
And I'd say too, not to take away from BYU, because I think they won the interior of the offensive and defensive line in this game. Utah clearly had an athlete advantage in this game. Like you saw it on the 49-yard touchdown run by Bray, where he like took an end around and was like, choo, gone. And you're like, why don't you just keep doing that? Because your players are like significantly faster than the players in the other team. And it was on those critical downs and critical moments, Utah just kept trying to run up the middle. And that's not where their strength is. And it just felt like they played into BYU's strengths a lot. And BYU realized it was like, okay, like that's what you're going to do all game. Okay.
Isn't that exactly what Ohio State did against Michigan last year in that matchup? Like, Ohio State wasn't getting it on the outside to their athletes, and they paid the price. And in this game, Bray had like 10 yards of carry. Like, I know he had the 49-yarder, but he had 121 on 10 carries.
I mean,
get that man a jet sweep, dude.
I mean, Utah, better EPA per play, better success rate, better yards per play by over a yard, better EPA per drop back. More yards per drop back, more explosive plays, better third down success rate, better red zone success rate, and you lose. You can't put your team in all or nothing scenarios over and over and over again in a rivalry game on the road in a tight game. Like I just feel like, yeah. And then credit to BYU for a lot of teams would have given up those third down conversions and there wouldn't even been a decision point. So good on them. They are fighting and clawing their way to a 7-0 record.
I know. I mean, they're 6-0. They have 3 tough road games left, but they're the only undefeated team in the conference. Like, you look at that road slate, they got Iowa State, Texas Tech, and Cincy all on the road. And that doesn't include TCU in Provo. So yeah, they're 6-0 and they deserve all the credit, but they're flirting, right? Like, they're flirting with these losses, and
they're underdogs this weekend. Iowa State's favored by 2.5 in that game.
It makes sense. Iowa State's lost 2 in a row. They're coming off a bye, I believe. Iowa State's had a brutal first half of the season. So yeah, I would probably take Iowa State to win the game because the Holy War just ended, body blow game. Bear literally got the shit kicked out of him and still got up every time. But like, eventually this is going to run out because I just think both of these teams are limited. They are both limited, but BYU's finding a way and Utah's not finding that way. Now, Utah's schedule is actually favorable enough for them to stay in this race.
It lines up for Utah a bit. They have Colorado, and then they host Cincinnati at Baylor, host Kansas State at Kansas. So it does. I mean, they've played 3 out of the last 4 games are ranked, and then the other one they had to travel all the way to West Virginia. So it does ease up for Utah a bit. Dude, 9-3 Utah, 10-2 Utah, very in the picture.
Yeah, the problem for them is, I don't think if you don't make the Big 12 title game, you're getting into the playoff.
It's starting to feel more and more like a one bid league. Yeah.
Yes, it is. And
a little bit more this year than last year.
And it's kind of crazy that both Miami and Texas Tech, the 2 like heavyweights from the non-Big 2 conferences, both go down on the same weekend. And it might have been a death knell to getting multi-bids for both leagues. Now, anything can happen, and we'll talk about it when we do our segment, but like, Utah not having a tiebreaker against Texas Tech or BYU, that's bad news for getting into the title game.
Yep.
So let's take a break to talk about our sponsor, Jack and Coke. College Football Monday is brought to you by Jack and Coke. 2 legends, 1 can. Jack and Coke, you can see that can right on your screen. The #1 cocktail in the world, Sam. I'm planning to have some of that when I get to Blacksburg this weekend.
You want to have some? We'll put it in the cooler. Pretty easy.
Yeah, Sam's running the tailgate, him and the fam. We're going to be up on Chicken Hill, and we're probably going to be taking part in some Jack and Cokes. And it makes it easy too, because you don't got to bring a glass bottle. You don't got to bring the 2-liter bottle of Coke because it's already there. You can get Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola Zero Sugar mixed with the Jack in the can. You can also get vanilla Coke. You can get Jack and Cherry. They got all these varieties, including Jack and Ginger, Jack and Lemonade. I think it's Jack, Honey, and Lemonade. Yeah, that's the one. They got a lot of varieties, and they're all available in your local grocery and convenience stores. So make sure you're grabbing those Jack and Cokes. They're stocking them up all the time. I mean, even if, because the stores do run out on occasion because it's very popular, but they stock up real quick. The distribution from companies like Jack and Coca-Cola, guess what? It's very good. And so they're always reloading, so it won't be that way for long. Grab those Jack and Cokes. And when you're having them, please drink responsibly. I plan on drinking responsibly this weekend, Sam. I'm going to try.
Do your best. Do your darndest.
We're going to move to VT Corner, everyone's favorite segment of the show. There was no game to recap for this, Sam. So we're going to talk a little bit about coaches, our favorite topic as of late, and one that a lot of people have interest in. Before we get to that, one thing that you put on your timeline, which you're always putting out interesting nuggets. If you don't follow Sam, make sure you're following him at Sam of Saturday. But you put out like the stat cast on like why we're not running the ball so much. Someone had a tweet of like percentage of teams that trail.
Let me pull that up. I believe it was good friend of the show, David Hale. Percent of offensive plays ran while trailing.
Okay.
Number 120, UNC at 64%. Number 122, Virginia Tech at 64.92%. So 65% of the plays Virginia Tech's offense has ran this year has been while they were trailing.
Oh my gosh.
And I believe this also includes the Wofford game in which Virginia Tech was not trailing for any. So that was a 100% Virginia Tech never trailing in that game. So it kind of goes to show what it looked like in some of the other games.
Yeah. I'm grabbing a couple of these graphics, but one thing we're going to watch in the Cal game, hopefully, is that we're not trailing the whole freaking time. So we can have
really nice.
A chance to actually run the ball a little bit better in that one. I'm just trying to grab this one image. Hold on a second. There it is.
And I also point out about that. Do you need to throw the ball to get back into games? No, but that is one of the things. And when you combine that with your top running back not being healthy for most of the time, and you compound that with, if you look at the teams that they have played, Vanderbilt, not a great pass defense. NC State, not a great pass defense. They did run the ball more in that game, but it's just Tech not executing on the matchup very well and not being healthy. And then you added some other things, and they all pile up to an offense that seems pretty imbalanced from what they're good at and what they're actually running on the field.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. So let's move on to Shane Beamer, because we are contractually obligated to talk about Shane Beamer every episode, it seems.
Yes, we are. Yes.
And the reason why is because there was an article written. And we'll get to that in a second. Let's start with what happened on the field. Oklahoma whipped up on Shane and the Gamecocks 26-7. It is not Cocktober, Sam. They are now 1-4 in the SEC, 3-4 on the year. Those two other wins were against us, who we know sucks, and South Carolina State, right? So it hasn't gone well down there. Only 224 yards of offense for Sellers and company. Shane was asked about the offense after the game. He kind of snapped back and said, well, I just made a change on offense. They fired their offensive line coach this past week. So he was a little testy, and it was after the game. And the guy who actually asked the question did a segment on the radio about it today. Is just I wish I had been able to get the whole question out, because he wanted to ask about the play calling specifically in terms of making changes.
Yeah. What is firing your offensive line coach mid-season supposed to do for your team? How does that change?
I mean, listen, as someone who loves to complain about when my team stinks, like, doesn't part of you wish we had made a change at offensive line coach at
I,
some point last season?
I mean, I would like, yeah, in February, not in October or Cocktober.
Yeah. Okay. And that's fair. So, but Shane's trying, right? He makes the change. He's
Yeah.
trying to trigger something
Yeah.
or whatever. The loss and the ugly offense led Brad Crawford of 247 to write an article about Shane Beamer's Virginia Tech decision. I use my finger quotes if you guys weren't watching. And essentially, the article pointed to the fact that the Shane era is running its course in Columbia, and that does seem obvious. And there was some sourced reporting that Beamer to Virginia Tech has legitimacy. And let me pull up the section from the thing. And this is what I was struggling to find. Multiple sources told CBS Sports this week that Beamer to Virginia Tech is more than speculation. It has legitimacy and would strengthen if South Carolina's downturn continued this season. Multiple members of Virginia Tech's search committee are quote unquote pushing for Beamer, one source said.
I mean, it's so. I texted you today, and I was like, the narrative is so easy, and it's like it's a juicy steak of a narrative.
Mm-hmm. It is. And they also make sure to say, and when I say they, I mean Brad Crawford, he makes sure to say that Shane had won more than any other South Carolina coach in their history through the first 4 years. And so as this article is kind of going on, there's one more thing I'll share. And it just says, they talked about the NDAs. And then right under that, they said, does that mean behind the scenes, a deal is already in the works? Not necessarily, but it's possible when searches go relatively silent. This is also the reason that people thought James Franklin was going to announce that he's coming to Virginia Tech on game day, which was equally ludicrous.
That was, yeah.
And then this is the final quote. The committee members are made up of people who like Shane and have long-standing ties to the program, including the rector, John Rakovich, one source told CBS Sports on Saturday. So as I'm digesting this article, and I asked you to read it as well so we could talk about it.
Yeah.
The whole story seems a little flimsy because it's essentially one source. It's like one guy who said, people on the committee like Shane.
I mean, yeah, people on the committee coached with Shane.
Or played for Shane. Or played while Shane was there. I don't know. I guess Eddie doesn't even line up there.
But like watched him grow up from little kid to player on team to coach on staff.
Like Bud Foster likes Shane Beamer. He's a family member, essentially.
Yeah, it's to me, it's again, the narrative, the storyline, it all lines up so perfectly. My issue with the Shane Beamer to Virginia Tech thing is twofold. One, financially doesn't make a lot of sense. He's making over $8 million a year at South Carolina, and that is without incentives. So you're looking at least probably $9 million a year in salary plus reasonable incentives that you're going to pay him. I don't think Virginia Tech is going to be in that ballpark. I don't think they're going to have a 125% increase on head coaching salary year over year. I just don't think that's going to happen. Then second, you've been big on this with James Franklin. The "what have you done for me lately" vibes are not good for Shane.
They're horrible.
He has more talent on that South Carolina roster this year than Virginia Tech has had probably since like mid 2000s.
It's been a while.
Like maybe some of the Tyrod Taylor years. It's been a long, long time. And if he can't win at a high level with that team and he's struggling to even score points and he's having, issues with keeping the staff together and he's made multiple bad offensive hires, how is he going to win with much, much less talent at Virginia Tech? Because even when the years where South Carolina was just not good, they still had more blue chip guys than Virginia Tech ever had.
What I found frustrating about the whole concept of the article was that Shane is choosing between the two schools. Like that's how it was. It's what it sounded like to me is that South Carolina is saying, we've got a coach we don't want anymore. We need to pawn him off on a desperate team who might want him ASAP. Like, that's what this article comes off as. Is like, we got to get rid of this guy because we don't want him. And he just received an extension in January. Make South Carolina lay in this bed. I mean, they don't want him. He's going to keep losing this year. They have 3 extremely tough games left, and they got Clemson at the end of the year, which they might win. But don't bail South Carolina out. They don't deserve it, nor do we deserve it. Like,
yeah,
you have to pay Shane. If we want to hire Shane, you kind of already said this, but it's $5 million on top of the salary to buy him out of South Carolina. Now, maybe there would be a negotiation that would get eliminated, which I'm sure South Carolina would be ecstatic to eliminate. But the $5 million is on top of the potential salary cost. It just comes off like a story that's written by Shane's agent to keep his name from getting drugged too hard over the shitty season they're having, or it's a story run by the school to keep the conversation going so they can get out of the contract.
Yeah, I don't, again, like, it doesn't make sense financially for either party, really. Like, for Shane, by the either party, I mean Shane Beamer and Virginia Tech, because Shane's not going to take a pay cut and go to a worse job at a job that he I think, truthfully loves that job. Like, he's been aiming for that job pretty much his whole career.
He's called it his dream job several times, and I know coaches say that, but like, I really feel like it is.
And the players seem to love him. The fans kind of seem to love him too. I know they don't like him very much the last few weeks, but it just, dude, well, like, if you go over your top list, I tweeted it out, and maybe it was a little harsh, but if his name's Joe Smith, he's not in the conversation.
I think it's valid, dude. If he had a regular name, wasn't related to Beamer, he's not even a thought. He's not a thought.
Now, what I will say is, and this is maybe a more conversation when we get closer to decision day towards the end of November, early December, whenever it is. You know, Virginia Tech is going to have to make a decision, I think, between, do we want to take an X's and O's guy for the field, or do we go for a guy who might drum up some more financial energy around Virginia Tech and donations, and guy that boosters will get behind and can maybe put us more in the spotlight as a program? Because Shane Beamer, regardless of who his dad is a national brand name personality and coach. And if you bring a guy like that to your program, Virginia Tech will be talked about a whole lot more than they will be if they hire Ryan Silverfield from Memphis. Even if we think Ryan Silverfield might be a better coach on the field, the bump that Shane gives you in popularity, in money, and in recruiting is going to be really, really hard to turn down for a G5 coach.
And to that, I would say, rather, I'd point over to Kenan Stadium when they took on TCU.
Yeah.
And how that's
a very good counter argument. We need to get you in that committee, Pete.
Because you can win the PR, you can win the donors, all that shit, and then it can go horribly wrong. And I don't think it would go anything like what happened to Belichick. I don't. But the concerns with Shane are the way he coaches his team and the way he staffs up, highlighted by the Shula thing. He's got a sloppy team this year. They've massively underachieved. They didn't go bowling 2 years ago either. He's 16-21 overall in the SEC. And I know it's the SEC, but like, that's not just a couple games under 500. Like,
and it's going to look a lot worse here in a few weeks.
Right. It's probably going to finish, like, by the time this season's over, he's going to be 17-24 in the SEC. Like, that's probably where it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so you add up all of that stuff. Who are we going to be bidding against for him? Like, that's what I keep coming back to. Like, when guys get big contracts in the NBA, and then Bill Simmons asks, like, they're paying him $8 million. Who are they bidding against? Who will we be bidding against for shit? No one wants him. Nobody wants him.
I think you're bidding against the toxicity of an SEC fan base.
But for Virginia Tech, it makes zero sense. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, these coaches have going rates. It's kind of like being a backup quarterback in the NFL. If I want to make one more analogy, is that, like, even if you're just whatever, if you're a backup in the NFL, you make $10 million, right? For where we're going to be at, where we aspire to be, going rates of coaches, like you pay $6 to $8 to $10 million for a coach. Shane's going to get that. He's probably not going to take a pay cut if you ask his agent. Well, guess what? If you hire him, that means you're probably paying that amount despite who you're bidding against.
Yeah.
And that's just idiotic because no P4 team wants to hire Shane Beamer right now. I don't think there's one.
Yeah, and what's so funny about it, Pete, is if it does happen, we'll talk ourselves into it.
We have no choice.
And it will like the energy around this program heading into that spring game would be off the charts. And that's the thing that they're like, that's
talking
about that in this meeting, man. That is part of it.
He's going to recruit well. Although I will say about his recruiting at South Carolina, and BRM pointed this out to me, it's not really above what Muschamp was doing. It's not. No. If you go back class by class, it's not far above that, if at all.
Location goes a long way for them. Being able to be in between Charlotte Metro and Atlanta Metro.
Also, SEC checks make a lot.
It has historically helped them out a lot. Yeah.
So that's the thing. Everyone's like, he's a recruiter. And that's even a line I would go to. That's not even really that true. Over what they've done since Spurrier came in, they've been recruiting really well.
We also just brought in a recruiter, and how'd that go?
And it worked okay, and then it didn't work. Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, he can get the donors. He can get some nice recruits when he first gets here. If you don't win, it will not continue, and then you got to fire Frank Beamer's son. And that sucks. That sucks. I don't want to have to be put in that position.
I don't think they would do that.
That's the worst part, Sam.
I don't think they would do that.
So, and just to harp back on this one point, because I don't want to act like I'm speaking hyperbolically. Do you think there's a market for Shane Beamer in the power conferences?
Potentially. I think there is a market for what we've talked about, which is exciting about Shane Beamer. And I also think there is a market for the narrative that he has made a really tough job competitive. I think that is a market. I think if you were to go to some other power conference schools and say, would you rather have your current coach or Shane Beamer? They would say Shane Beamer. I think once you talk money into it in logistics, then it starts to be like, I don't know if because think about what are the other coaches you could get for $9 million?
Of freaking just about anybody.
Like you could get. Do we want to go over our list? Because pretty much everybody
let's go
on
over
list
the list in 1 second. Let me just say, like, I wanted to finish this thought and now I'm losing it. The Scott Satterfield reset is what I was going to go to. That's what the Shane thing would be. Is that Scott Satterfield he was going to be fired at Louisville. It was only a matter of time. And they wanted Brom, and Cincinnati decided they wanted Satterfield, and something got worked out. And now it's actually worked out for Scott Satterfield. He's 6-1 right now. Now it might not end very well this year, but like right now, it looks like all parties are better off. Could that happen? Yes, it absolutely could. It just
kind of does seem like somebody who needs like just a few days sitting on a dock at Smith Mountain Lake might do Shane Beamer wonders.
And you get to reflect on the first time you were a head coach. Like it's not as if it couldn't work out. Like things like this work out like that you don't expect all the time. Just that, as you already said, if he has a regular name and he's not related to Frank Beamer, like we're not considering him. Not many other P4 people would be considering him, especially regarding like a buyout. He's going to finish poorly this year. Now, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he wins 2 of the next 3 and South Carolina loves him. And we're not talking about this for other reasons, but this whole story, to go back to the very beginning, seems exactly like what we've been dealing with the Shane Beamer thing, which is the media desperately wants it to happen for the storyline.
Yep.
Okay. Let me put up this comment from Max and Cheese because it's going to link well. I really wanted James Franklin to have 3 hats on the game day desk and put one on to announce his next team. And
we can still make that happen.
He could go back on again. ESPN will sell out for anything. They got a lot of viewers, I'm sure, for that Franklin interview, which was a big nothing burger. But people tuned in, I'm sure.
Mhm.
So in relation to that, I asked Sam to come up with his top 3 coaching candidates as of today, October 20th, 2025.
Yep.
And why don't you give us your number 3 candidate right now? And we'll just kind of get into like the conversation.
Alex Golesh, current coach at South Florida, former offensive coordinator at Tennessee, offensive wizard, but maybe most importantly, his team plays like a bunch of maniacs that are possessed. It is unreal how hard that team plays for him. They want to beat everybody they play by 100. And I think that would do wonders at a program like Virginia Tech.
He is number 2 on my list, and you had a number 3. So I guess slightly higher on Golesh. He's 6-1. The only loss is to Miami. He's been over 500 all 3 years at South Florida, which isn't always the case. It sounds simple, but he went 7-6, 7-6, and now he's 6-1. He's built up. He's gotten more out of Braxton. He has currently the best positioned G6 team for the playoff. Of all the candidates that are out there, and I kind of listed them on Twitter, like USF has the best team. We'll talk about several candidates, but like on the field so far this year, USF has the best football team. And so that can go a little bit. They're ranked number 18. They're the only G6 team that's ranked. They're the only non-power school that's ranked. Did great work with Hendon Hooker at Tennessee as the OC for 2 years. Helped them get back with Heupel when Tennessee was really pretty bad when Heupel came in, and now they're back in the spotlight. Before that, he coached under Matt Campbell for 3 years. He was a GA at Ohio State, which is his alma mater. He worked under Jim Tressel, and he also worked under Gundy, another great offensive mind, as a GA back in the day. So, offensive guy has won at his G6 spot it's not a tough place to win, but it's a place that hasn't always won with the advantages that they have. And there's a lot of competition for recruits in Florida. And so he's done well there. And if he makes the playoff, like that's incredible. And so good pedigree, good team. His team plays hard. Golesh checks a lot of boxes for me. He's my number 2 candidate. Who's your number 2 candidate?
So before I say who the actual head coach is, he's a current head coach, I'm going to tell you who his offensive coordinator is. And I want you to see if this is a guy who you would like to bring in as a potentially low dollar offensive coordinator, like more bang for your buck offensive coordinator. If you remember the conversation we had last time about a key to making these work is a head coach who can silo off one side of the program, and then you'd have another experienced coordinator you pay a lot of money for, and they do that one. It was a 2-way player at Georgia Tech, 4-year letterman, interned at Ohio State, was a GA, senior quality control, and quarterbacks coach at Ohio State from 2016 to 2023. Saw a lot of winning football at Ohio State. And then the next year was the quarterback coach. And I really don't know what his other position was. He held some other position at Tulsa, and now he is with this head coach. Does that sound like somebody you want to get? 33 years old, played power conference football, ton of experience at Ohio State, quarterback guy. Sound pretty good?
Yeah, I mean,
that is Corey Dennis, the offensive coordinator at UNLV. So is now under Dan Mullen.
Obviously you want Dennis under Mullen at Virginia Tech as your number 2 pick.
I think that's a really good package deal.
Yeah. Mullen's a great offensive mind in his own right.
That is 9. I mean, how many years was Mullen in the SEC? He was at Mississippi State.
I want to say 9 years. I want to say 9 years.
That's 18 combined Big Ten SEC coaching experience years.
Yeah, 9 seasons at Mississippi State. 5 times he had 8+ wins, and the hardest division in football at the time.
So he was in the SEC for like 14 years because then he went to Florida.
Yes.
So you're looking at over 20 years of SEC/Ohio State coaching experience in those 2 guys alone.
Not bad.
I take that. That's about 20 more years than our other coordinators have had. So yeah, I think, look, Dan Mullen is such a proven winner. Now, asterisks, his teams don't really play defense. I think you would have to pay big bucks, like $2 million plus for a defensive coordinator if you bring in Dan Mullen. But Dan Mullen wins football games. And ultimately, that's what we're trying to do.
I also think that the GM hire is critical with Mullen because he's not the dogged recruiter that some of the other guys are. And there was a comment that we'll get to in a minute after we go through some of these guys. My number 3, because I haven't said it yet, is Sumrall. He's at Tulane, 6-1. The losses to Ole Miss. Yeah, they got blown out, but Ole Miss is very, very good. He's at a G6. They did beat Duke, and they smoked them. Even though Duke stole their quarterback, Sumrall got his team fired up. He brought in Retzlaff late in the cycle. They go out, they beat Duke. He's 24. I'm sorry. He's 9-5 last year at Tulane, 6-1 this year. He did lose in the title game to Army, and they had a really hard time with Army this past weekend, which was predictable, but they won the game. He was 23-4 in 2 seasons at Troy prior to Tulane. So here's the thing with Sumrall. He inherited a nice program from Willie Fritz. Willie Fritz got Tulane to where they are. Like, they won the Sugar Bowl. They were really good. And he comes in and he maintains it. They go 9-5, obviously losing the title game, and now they're back again and have a chance at the playoff. But what he did at Troy was equally impressive. I mean, he was really, really good at Troy. In those 2 seasons, he was 12-2 and then 11-2 or something like that. Yeah, 12-2 and then 11-2. He finished 19th in the AP poll his first year at Troy. Like, Troy doesn't finish ranked. Like that, that's insane.
It's kind of crazy. Like, he's done it without being a offensive and or defensive mastermind. He's kind of just done it by making his guys want to run through a brick wall.
Yes.
And he did a really good job replenishing talent at Tulane because they lost so much and they've continued to lose a lot in the offseason. But then he goes and brings in more guys just to backfill. It's really impressive.
And he also beat Northwestern this year. Northwestern's 5-2.
We'll get to Northwestern.
So that's another one that didn't seem like a good win at the time, but they beat Northwestern, they beat Duke, the 2 nerd schools. Those are decent teams. And so this Tulane team and the job Sumrall has done is impressive. And he's proven that he can win at 2 schools, which is, it's not just Fuente at Memphis. It's 2 different opportunities to fail, and he's succeeding at both. And so that's important to me. So that's my number 3. Who's your number 1?
Well, we should also mention that Tulane is also kind of a nerd school. So it
is, but it's it's in New Orleans. It's kind of like a cool nerd school.
Yeah. It's a.
Who's your number 1 candidate, Sam?
You're going to get angry.
I know who it is, but I'm glad that one of us has to.
Dude, it's James Franklin. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't.
The funny thing is,
I don't want it to be Pete. You know me. I don't want it to be, but it is, and it's so mind-boggling that he could. 2 months ago they were second in the odds for the national title, and now he could potentially come to Virginia Tech to be their head coach. What a turn of events.
I know.
Yeah. And here's what does it for me for James.
Go ahead.
It's not he recruited Northern Virginia well and has experience in the area. It's not that, because recruiting is a national game right now. So I don't care how much time he spent at Stonebridge High School in Nova, okay? Which is 5 freaking hours from Blacksburg anyways, okay? My thing about James Franklin is, outside of for the vast majority of his career, both at Vanderbilt and at Penn State, he has won the games he's supposed to win. And if you're going to be a winning coach in the ACC, your schedule is chock full of games that you probably should win. I feel like that is, if Virginia Tech could just win the games they were supposed to win, the floor becomes 8 wins. And you hype onto that some addition in recruiting and some addition in recruiting staff, and quality assistant staff and all of that, now all of a sudden, the 9 to 10 wins every single year starts to become much, much more of a reality. So for me, James Franklin, his floor is so much higher than any other candidate Virginia Tech could get. And as a fan of the Hokies and seeing 500 seasons time and time again, and now under 500 seasons in 2 of the last 4 seasons, dude, give me 8-4. If I know I'm getting 8-4 going into the season, I'm pretty happy with that.
Of course, except nothing's a guarantee. Not even James Franklin.
It feels really close to it, though. It feels really, really close.
And what I said online, maybe last week, was that Franklin, like, he has so few of the qualities I actually want in the coach that
I would agree
coaches
on that.
at Virginia Tech. Like, he does the same shit as Pry in game. Like, it's gotten a little bit better over the years, but like, he's not a good in-game decision maker. It's like, it's not Mario Cristobal level, but it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't get his team mentally ready to play in the big games. And so every time we play against Miami in a critical spot, we're probably going to lose if we have James Franklin. His team doesn't play with their hair on fire like Alex Skolish's. He doesn't get the most out of his roster. Like, they had so much more talent than UCLA and Northwestern this year. And they were heavy favorites, one of which was at home. And they lost both games. And they lost the Northwestern game, which I know we just said Northwestern's decent. His back was up against the wall. He is coaching for his career, and he can't win the game. And the floor on James Franklin at Virginia Tech is not the same floor at Penn State. And I think you'd agree with that too.
No, that's true. Okay. Is it possible that the opportunity to get a guy like James Franklin in as your head coach trumps the, like if they were to have a whiteboard in those meetings, right? And yours lists like, here's what we want. We want X, Y, and Z. And like, these are characteristics. But then somebody comes in with James Franklin. As a decision maker, I would feel kind of stupid paying the same amount of money for Dan Mullen and outbidding people for Dan Mullen as I could get for James Franklin or for Shane Beamer. Like, I would feel kind of dumb.
Yeah. And I understand that from, well, yeah, it's James Franklin, but we're literally just going back to like, this was his record. His name's James Franklin. He has all this credibility on the sport, but like, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Like, I know it should mean something, but like, we talk about a floor. He had just had the lowest floor Penn State's ever seen 3 days ago. You know, like I think he would recruit his butt off. That's a huge pro. The funding, the donors, that would be big. He'd be good with all that. Like when he went on game day, most people are like, that guy says he's going to win a national championship. Guess what? He was 1-10 against Ohio State. He's not winning a national championship. When he went to the playoff, he beat the teams he was supposed to beat. You're right, Sam. Guess what? Then he had a team he wasn't supposed to beat and he lost. And that's what happens every time.
No, it is the vibe thing is like the fact that it went so south so quickly is a red flag.
It's a huge red flag.
They were ready
to get rid of him.
Before this season, he had not lost to a team that was ranked outside of the top 12 since October 23rd of 2021. And it was in 9 overtimes. That was the 9 OT game against Illinois. It was the last time they lost to a team not ranked in the top 12. It is like,
I get it.
You're so right though, because it's like both sides of the argument can be so damn true. And I don't know how you really weight one more than the other, because if you actually want to win ACC and potentially compete at the highest level of college football at Virginia Tech, you're going to eventually have to win some of those games.
I also want to say, like, I'm giving Sam some crap because I have to fight this side of it. But what I've long said is that he's not my top candidate. And initially, like maybe 2 weeks ago, I was like, you can't hire him right now. He needs time off, which I still think he probably does. However, there comes a point on any candidate list where like you have to slot him in there.
You do. Yeah. I
And
mean,
for me, Sam, it's probably 4.
yeah. I had
it's
I had
not
John.
I
I
have
had
to
my
give
top
you
3, and then my
fight.
next 3. Like John Summerall was my 4.
Okay.
I mean, John
Okay.
Summerall was my 4 because I think the amount of money Virginia Tech will have to outbid other teams for John Summerall is beyond what he's worth. Ryan Silverfield was 5, and then I had Shane at 6.
Silverfield took a little bit of a hit this week.
He did. But he can earn it. I mean,
if he beats USF, it changes.
I need John Rakovich just sitting 50-yard line in the Liberty Bowl this weekend. I need him like still with a few barbecue sauce stains on his nice white dress shirt, just saying, which one of you wants to come coach for Virginia Tech?
Hubbard says, Pete, would you prefer Shane Beamer over James Franklin? I would not.
So let's play this game.
I would not. James, I would want Franklin before Shane Beamer.
For $8 million, James Franklin or Shane Beamer, you're going
Franklin.
For $8 million for James Franklin or $6 million for Alex Golish.
I'm going Golish.
Okay. James Franklin, $8 million. John Summerall, $8 million.
I'm going Summerall.
Wow. Okay.
I like Summerall as an option better than I like Franklin. He's a guy on the upswing. He's got everything in front of him. His mentality is totally different than James Franklin's mentality.
Okay, so let's get weird. Let's say we have to outbid Florida State. No. We don't have to outbid Florida State. Who do we have to outbid from Mullen? Arkansas.
Oklahoma State.
And then potentially the remnants, right?
Yeah. Whoever else comes open. Yeah.
I mean, if you had to pay more for Dan Mullen than James Franklin, would you take Dan Mullen?
Yes, I would, because Mullen is my number 1 candidate. So that's my number 1. He had a winning record all but 2 years at Mississippi State, a historically terrible football school in the toughest division in the SEC. Done that a couple times now, but he won 9 games. He won 10 games in 2014. Only the 3rd time it happened in their history. He won 9 games 2 more times, 8 games 2 more times. So that's of the 9 season, 5 were 8+ win seasons. So you're talking about a floor of 8 wins. I feel like Mullen gets you pretty damn close. Now, if you want to say that's too long ago, like even though it was the toughest division in college football and whatever, then he went to Florida, finished in the top 15 3 times in 4 years. Okay, he has Florida athletes, but he's playing in the SEC, finishing in the top 15. And prior to that, he built up a program from nothing.
Yeah.
And now he's at UNLV taking Anthony Calandria to a 6-0 record before, losing to Boise State, who's always one of the best G6 teams.
Does it worry you that his defense is utterly atrocious?
Not really, because defense is more of a reflection of what recruits you have in the building. This is his first season. Year 1, he has no business being undefeated at UNLV through 6 games. Absolutely none. And so I don't care that his defense is bad. Like, if he has more years, the defense won't look like this. And if he came to Virginia Tech, he's getting himself, like you said, a good defensive coordinator. He's finding a GM to help him with the recruiting and help him with the players. And so, I just think you don't have to compete with Florida for his services. So that's a huge plus. Yeah. He has a more robust assistant network in terms of staffing up than any of these other guys outside of maybe James. And James is staffing up. He finds the DCs, but he keeps having to replace them. And that's because of success. But it leads to the continuity with James Franklin is just tough. And offensively, it hasn't been there. He brings in Kolonicki, and
kind of awkward too.
It took a while, and the offense is always awkward. Bo Pribula. Is he better than Drew Aller? Probably, maybe.
Maybe.
But would and people are like, well, James Franklin chose wrong. No, maybe Drew Aller isn't as good because he's under James. Maybe, choosing Clifford over Will Levis wasn't the issue. The issue is that Clifford stayed under James Franklin. Like that, like he's had the talent, but like all the offensive talent that stays with him doesn't seem as good as the talent that leaves.
That's true. That's right. And that's Virginia Tech had that problem. Big time. So I don't want to settle. We could just list off names for hours.
Yeah.
2 guys I do want to mention. One of them talked a lot about in-state guy, Bob Chesney.
Bob Chesney is probably like, I don't know. He's down there, man.
If Bob
I
Chesney
never really considered him.
If Bob Chesney wins the Sun Belt and they go 11, they will end up going 12-1, winning the Sun Belt. Their only losses at Louisville. He will have won a lot of games in 2 years at JMU. Potentially playoff this year if they go 12-1 because the American might eat each other up. Could he play his way? Could he coach his way this season into? Yeah, I'd take Bob Chesney.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I agree with that.
If you make the playoff or come close and win, if you win your conference and you're in the conversation for the playoff, that guy has to be considered. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to.
Yep. And then the other guy, which is a little bit out of left field, but I heard some rumbling. It's on the TL about would we take this guy? Mm-hmm. PJ Fleck, Buzz Williams on grass. Would you entertain if Virginia Tech could pry, which I don't think it's more of a personality question because I don't think it could actually happen, but would you take a guy like that?
PJ Fleck is one of those, like, if we're taking PJ Fleck, one, it could work. It could, but it probably means we missed on like a more serious swing.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree. I looked up PJ Fleck's salary. We're not taking him away from Minnesota.
What does he make?
I think he makes 8.
I mean, all these guys make freaking.
He's so perfect for that program, though. Like he just like identity, branding, winning. They've got it right now with PJ Fleck. I don't think he's leaving. But it's a question. Like if Virginia Tech were to go poach somebody, I think it would have to be getting somebody from a horizontal move. And I do believe in 2025, Minnesota's and Virginia Tech is a horizontal move. But I just thought I'd bring it up because I heard it.
And I understand like the comparisons between Mullen and Franklin. People have brought that up. Like, well, they both had failures and they both had a lot of success. Like, why would you like Mullen more? I just think like mentally, stylistically, schematically, Mullen is better in all of those ways. Like Franklin is a better recruiter, but Mullen is a better coach. Like he's just straight up a better coach. And that's why he's my number one. So it was Mullen, Golish, Sumrall for me. And like I said to Sam, Franklin's probably 4. And then honestly, after that, like it kind of drops off. Now, if Matt Campbell were to come available, Sam, where would he fill? Like if he was like rumored, like Matt Campbell's interested, where would he go on your list?
Matt Campbell would probably go somewhere between 4 or 5, somewhere around there. My issue with Matt Campbell. Yeah. So here's my issue with Matt Campbell. Now I was all up Matt Campbell. This is another. I do like Matt Campbell. This is another year though of Matt Campbell's teams. Like they're missing something. And I don't think it would be somebody who elevates your program. Again, that's a horizontal move, and you're just hoping that all the pieces fall into place. And in modern college football, where your roster's changing every single year, a guy like Campbell feels like he needs a lot of continuity year over year. I don't think he's going to get that anywhere. And you're seeing it this year where they have 0 depth on that team. Like their starting 22 is really good. Their next 22 is not good at all. I worry about that.
Yeah. No, and it's a valid
good coach. I mean, good coach though. But if you want your floor to be like 8 wins every single year, I don't think Matt Campbell is that.
Because he has lost some bad seasons at Iowa State. Not many, but he has got a couple. I
Pat
think he would move.
Fitzgerald-esque.
I think he would move to number one because similar to what Mullen did at Mississippi State, I think Campbell does a lot more with less. I mean, Iowa State is inarguably like the worst recruiting grounds in the country, and he's had their best season in history just last year. He's had some other years where they came in and did really well, exceeded expectations. He's a great developmental coach, which I think something Virginia Tech desperately needs. So I think Campbell would move to number one for me. This question from Dave the Barber: how many conference championships and playoff appearances does Mullen been to? Well, for one thing, Mullen hasn't coached in the time there's been a 12-team playoff. So let's just take James Franklin's playoff appearance off the board, since he didn't compete there, and James Franklin had the easiest path in last year's playoff. James Franklin has one conference championship in 11 seasons at Penn State. Like, it's not like he was winning the conference. He can't beat Ohio State. He can't beat Michigan. So, like,
we're also not trying to win the Big Ten or the SEC.
No, I mean,
like, we're trying to beat Georgia Tech and NC State.
But at the same time, whoever we hire, Sam, and people are like, we can't beat Wake or ODU. Like, why wouldn't you want Franklin? Because if we're going to be funded and in a top 20 level, which the numbers that we're getting suggest that, well, then the goal shouldn't just to beat Wake. It should be to win the ACC every couple of years. That should be the goal. So can you trust James Franklin in a championship game? Can he get to a championship game? Like, that's the kind of shit that I'm talking about. Like, we are supposed to be aspiring to what Virginia Tech was from 95 to 2011. That's what we should be aspiring to with this hire. If we're paying someone $8, $9, $10 million, that's the aspiration. We're not just trying to win 7 games a year. We're trying to win championships. We're trying to get to the title game. Guys who are on the rise and motivate their team properly are guys I want. Ball coaches, schematic ball coaches, someone who can develop, someone who gets their team to play hard every game, not choke every time there's a tough moment. That's what I want.
It is going to be very, very interesting to see not only who Tech wins with, but how much they pony up for him, because boy, oh boy, the market's kind of wild right now.
Yeah, I mean, there were some questions in our chat from Don Hubbard. 6 million to Silverfield or 7 million Stoops. For one, the Stoops thing is just
if Mark Stoops is the coach at Virginia Tech, I will.
You're done.
Done. I will go back. I will find a graduate program to do another graduate degree so I can get a degree from somewhere not named Virginia Tech. How about that?
Bob Chesney, 6 million, or Silverfield, 7 million. Ask me again in
7 million.
Ask me again in 4 weeks, because does Bob Chesney go to the playoff? Does Silverfield?
6 million for Bob Chesney is a little wild.
But again, Sam, we're getting to the point where it's like,
I know.
What's the going rate? These coaches are making obscene amounts of money, regardless of their qualifications.
Well, I think that is. I think whoever Virginia Tech hires needs to be on like a 2 or 3 year, like a 3-year contract. Max.
We're losing to ODU. We're all well aware. We're all well aware.
I'm so freaking well aware that Virginia Tech lost to ODU this year.
I'm honestly good with anyone besides Shane Beamer. That's kind of true.
Do you think though? Like here's the thing, Pete, because I've known you for a while now, and you've known me for a while now, and we know how this thing goes. You are going to. Like, you can be as pissed as you want now about Shane Beamer. I will be right there with you. That second weekend in April, we're going to be in.
We're going to be at the spring game.
We're going to be pretty hyped.
There. And it's going to be Beamer Bow, baby. It's going to be Beamer Bow with like a bunch of R's at the end. It's going to be. It's going to be. It's going to be on like Donkey Kong.
The prodigal son has returned.
There was one more question before we finish out here with with a lot of other stuff that we have, but VT Corner's fun to extend. This one. Save this for VT Corner. What do you think of the athletic structure will look like? Coach, GM, who reports to who? We don't know what it is now. That's we don't know who's in charge in the athletic department.
So I kind of I've actually thought about this.
I mean, we're all thinking about it. What do you think?
And then, so I'll try to, it'll look something like this. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it's a big circle. And you have the AD, the head coach, and the GM. And it's just one big circle.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like right now. And it's very like Jack Sparrow, like, what's your plan? I don't have a plan kind of feeling.
And we're kind of in uncharted waters to play on that in terms of what's the go-to structure in the NFL. Sometimes the head coach is in charge. Sometimes the GM's in charge. Depends on the power of the head coach. But a lot of times the GM and the president work together and they kind of dictate what happens with the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
That's at the college level. Head coaches are the stars. They are the big money makers. They are the ones that not only coach the team, but like they pick a lot of the players. They have to recruit the players. And so it's a different dynamic. There's no recruiting in pro football.
In the NFL too, you do have the dynamic of your owner being a multi-billionaire. So like, Jimmy Haslam sucks. Everybody hates Jimmy Haslam. Jimmy Haslam's filthy rich, so he doesn't care. And Andrew Berry, the GM for the Browns, is below him. And then Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, is below him. And there's like a clear pecking order in pay. When your AD is making $1 million a year and your coach is making $8 million a year, who do you think is really in charge of that scenario? Because one of them is the highest paid employee in the state of Virginia, and the other one is just your athletic director.
At the end of the day, the coach picks the players, recruits the players, gets the most money. He's in charge. He's the face of your program. He's the CEO. He will pretty much answer to no one except for the president and the AD when it comes to firing time. But every time that's not firing time, the coach is in charge.
And I think that's what we need to prepare ourselves for, the GM to be much more of a roster management, money management position.
He's the one cutting checks.
Yeah. I think you need to prepare for the GM not to be a NFL GM.
But in terms of scouting and selecting and who they go after, that's where the GM could be important for a guy like Mullen. Like if you don't have a guy who's like a crazy good recruiter like Franklin, the GM could be potentially more important. Now, at the same time, a guy like Mullen, his name recognition, that's also going to recruit itself to a point. And also, you know what else recruits itself now? The checks. Like, oh, you want to come to Virginia Tech because you like it, but you like this school just as much? We'll pay you, $100,000, $200,000 more. That's what recruiting is now too. And so like, that's actually better for maybe guys that aren't great recruiters because they can just pay. They can just say, okay, we'll pay you a little bit more because our evaluation on you is better than so-and-so's.
Agreed.
I don't know. Man, that was a lot on coaching for something that we had no game to talk about, but good VT corner, Sam. We will talk more about everything regarding Virginia Tech, including Cal, tomorrow night and get that out to you ASAP. Thank you guys for all the comments in the chat.
Yep.
I see a comment from Dave the Barber about Mike McDaniel from Miami. We can't address that at this time. It's not that it's has no merit, Don. It's just, or Dave. It just it's too many layers for us to get into at this time. But thank you guys for the comments. We really, really do appreciate it.
Do you want to move to some surprise teams? I'll just list them off quick.
Yeah, let's do it.
To bring us back before we do playoff picks. There are some teams I just wanted to shout out some teams that, deserve their flowers for good years, and you might not have heard of them. I'll start with UConn, who is sitting at 5-2. They just beat Boston College. They've won 4 games in a row. Their losses are a close loss in overtime to Syracuse, and then one other close as well. Good season for UConn so far, and they're going to have another probably back-to-back 9-win seasons for UConn. Jim Moore doing a heck of a job. Cincinnati, we talked about them a little bit. They're currently 6-1. They're 4-0 in the Big 12. Cincinnati, 4-0 in the Big 12. They host Baylor this week, but they're 5.5-point favorites. Cincinnati is the darkest of dark horse playoff teams right now because they might find their way into that Big 12 title game right now. Northwestern, we also mentioned them. They're sitting at 5-2, coming off a shutout win against Purdue, 19-0. They're 5-2 overall, 3-1 in the Big 10. Shout out to the Wildcats of Northwestern having a good start to the season. In Conference USA, getting a little sicko with it. Kennesaw State, a team that was just came up from the FCS a few years ago. They're sitting at 4-2, but they're 2-0 in Conference USA. That is a conference that is just totally wide open. Great quarterback play. They've gotten better across the board.
Dude, they were terrible last year. Remember when they upset?
They upset Liberty.
They upset Liberty as like, what were they, 0-6 or something like? They've improved so much.
Big game against FIU Wednesday night, I think it is. But Kennesaw State doing a great job for the Owls and also some of the best uniforms in college football this year. San Diego State. Sean Lewis is doing a phenomenal job with the Aztecs. They are 5-1. They're 2-0 in the Mountain West. That's another conference that's pretty wide open right now. It's Boise State and then kind of everybody else. San Diego State, a team to watch. They're playing really well and much better on offense. Big rivalry game for them against Fresno State this week, playing at Fresno. Two fan bases that really, really hate each other. And then shout out to the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii, Coach Timmy Chang. They are 6-2. They are 3-1 in Mountain West play. What a job by Hawaii. They are doing a phenomenal job. They've navigated a quarterback injury, and he's back healthy now. Just an unbelievable job. They are 6-2. Can't wait to watch Hawaii in bowl season.
What was the team right before Hawaii that you talked about?
San Diego State.
San Diego State, yeah. They were on my list as well at 5-1. They have played a tremendously weak schedule. I will say that about San Diego State.
Don't worry about it.
I know. I mean,
don't worry about it.
We're trying to praise the teams with a good record because you know what? You can only play the schedule that's been put in front of you. And so that was a good call out by Sam. You said Cincy, San Diego State, Northwestern, Hawaii, and UConn. I agree with all of those. And you could add Fresno to that list. Like you said, they're taking on Fresno. Fresno's 5-2.
Yeah, that's a nasty rivalry game. It really is. Also, random nerd fact, the Aztec Empire only lasted 93 years. Just fun little nerdy historical fact.
So you're saying they don't deserve to have a college mascot named after them?
No, they were pretty sick. They were pretty sick.
Those helmets. They've run out the best helmets, man. They really do. So my surprise teams would be BYU. I mean, 7-0 after the whole Retzlaff thing. Or is it 7-0 or 6-0?
They're 7-0.
7-0. Yeah. That's impressive as hell. And it's not been a terribly weak schedule either. It's in the middle of depending on where you look, it's in the middle, and they've done well. Houston, 6-1. No, hasn't been a rough road, but guess what their over-under was? 5.5 over by October for Houston. I had that pick in our preseason, so I'm happy about that one. Vandy 6-1, got to mention them. That is crazy that Vandy is sitting at 6-1. Just beat LSU at home. No one rushed the field. It's just what they should have done. Like, it's nuts. It is nuts what we're seeing with Vandy. Vandy could be in the playoff. Like, they legitimately could be in the playoff.
We're going to talk about that in about 2 minutes.
Virginia 6-1. I hate it, Sam, but it's got to be mentioned. North Texas had the somewhat embarrassing loss to USF, but 6-1 for North Texas. Pretty solid. UNLV 6-1. Minnesota 5-2. Like,
big win over Nebraska.
I can't believe Minnesota's 5-2 after losing to Cal early in the year.
And their other loss to is Ohio State, which like doesn't count.
Yeah, right. Like it's crazy. And Cal is 5-2.
We'll talk about them tomorrow night.
Yeah, we will. 5-2 Cal. Now they tried to lose to UNC. Damn, they really tried, but they didn't. Southern Miss is 5-2. I think they're, depending on where you got it, they might already be over. I think they need one more win to get over on where I got it. And then Pitt 5-2 after what didn't look like a good start. Those are some of the teams I wanted to mention. So we covered those surprise teams pretty well. I think it's time for playoff picks, Sam. We didn't do a ton of the roundup around the country because of how much other stuff we got to. But this will lead to conversation about some other teams and maybe what they just did this past week. So let me put Sam's playoff picks on the screen.
One thing I don't like about these playoffs is there's too much red. There's going to be a lot
SEC
of red
is
on the
all
field.
red, man.
I don't like it. Need less red, but unfortunately, so in the SEC, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Alabama, and Georgia. Ole Miss, I'm not going to. One possession loss at Georgia is not going to knock you out, but Ole Miss, not a lot of impressive wins and not a lot of opportunities for them for Ole Miss.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see with the Rebs. Out of the Big Ten, it's the same three. It's been Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana. Out of the ACC, Miami and Georgia Tech. I am sticking with them. I believe Miami has the guys to win out, and I believe Georgia Tech has survived some of their worst performances against Wake Forest and against Duke.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm sticking with the ACC. I'm still going with two from the Big 12 right now in this moment. BYU's undefeated. They just beat Utah. They deserve to be up there. Texas Tech, I know they just had the loss. For me, that knocks them down to like the 10 or 11 spot, but that's a tough loss at a very good Arizona State team. I think at the end of the day, you look at their margin of victory, their advanced stats, as well as what their resume will look like. It will look very good. In BYU, I'm going to keep them there until they lose. I think they might lose two or three games this year, but I'm going to keep them there till they lose. My G5, South Florida, I think they are beating the ever-living piss out of everybody they play. I'm going to need to see somebody stop them before that showdown with Memphis is absolutely astronomical.
Yeah.
I do want to point out, though, I believe the winner of the Missouri-Vanderbilt game will jump one of the Big 12 teams. And I also believe that Notre Dame is right there as well. The next team that slips up and the winner of the Mizzou-Vanderbilt game. Those are two changes that I kind of like have baked into my playoffs right now.
We have a fair amount of differences. Now, the most notable thing about yours is you don't have Notre Dame in there, and you've given a second team to the ACC. So in mine, I've always been on the two ACC team things until now because Miami lost. I don't think they're out of it by any means. But here's the thing, Sam. I know Georgia Tech's going to be in the ACC championship game because their path is extremely easy in the ACC the rest of the way. Their toughest game left is Georgia, who doesn't play in the ACC. I don't know who the other team in the ACC title game is going to be. So I got to roll with Georgia Tech in terms of the playoff pick right now. They're also the highest in the AP poll. So I'm going to go with GT. I toyed around with a lot of different iterations of this. The biggest thing you'll see on the screen if you're watching on YouTube is that I've got 5 SEC teams in there. And I just think at the end of the day, they've had 10 SEC teams ranked virtually all season long. We've heard about the strength of schedule metrics are going to be bigger with the committee. I just think they're going to put 5 SEC teams in. And the way the other conferences are starting to shake out, most notably this past weekend, but just in general, they're going to do it. And so I've got 5 SEC teams in there: Texas A&M, Bama, Georgia, and Ole Miss, all the teams that Sam has. And I have Oklahoma. And I know Oklahoma is going against Ole Miss this weekend. And so that would, maybe that's like a de facto playoff game. Maybe. But if there's one of these SEC teams is going to get in at 9-3. And if there is any SEC team that can get in at 9-3, it is Oklahoma, because their schedule has been brutal and will be brutal. They have the out-of-conference win against Michigan, which is huge. And say Ole Miss were to lose to Oklahoma, well, then Oklahoma would still be in my thing and be a question of, well, maybe Ole Miss, they have 2 losses. Will they get in? Ole Miss's rest of the schedule is extremely manageable. So then, yeah, the Egg Bowl could prove difficult, but Ole Miss is a better team than Mississippi State. So I'm going on projection here. And Ole Miss has the Tulane win out of conference. And so Oklahoma and Ole Miss, I think, both get in because of what they did out of conference and because Ole Miss will probably just finish with 2 losses regardless of what happens this weekend. And Oklahoma will probably finish with 3 losses regardless of what happens this weekend. Probably. Go ahead.
One question real quick. Alabama. So let's say Alabama, who has that loss to Florida State to start the year, let's say they win their next 3 against South Carolina, Oklahoma, and then Eastern Illinois on Cupcake Week, but they lose at Auburn, and then they lose the SEC title game. Does that team with wins over Georgia, Vanderbilt, Missouri, and Tennessee and Oklahoma get in at 9-3?
Yes.
Over.
Well, no, they'd be 10-3, wouldn't they? If they lost in the SEC title game?
No, I'm sorry. They would be,
or would they be 9-4?
They'd be 10-3.
They'd be 10-3.
10-3.
They'd be 10-3 with a loss in the title game. Alabama
but they have 2 losses to teams that don't make bowl games.
Okay. That's an interesting one because Bama right now seems like the best SEC team in the conference.
I mean, they have the best resume in the country right now, I think.
If they were to lose those last 2, it would call it into question, though. Bama has played,
dude.
This is what can
mess it up. Because if they beat Oklahoma, but Oklahoma wins out, Oklahoma's in. And you keep Georgia in, and you keep A&M in. Like, the path to 6 SEC teams might actually be by one of the teams in your list getting upset.
Exactly.
Not winning.
Dude, it depends on how all the losses fall. Like, if the 4 favorites win out, like, it makes it a lot more clear cut. But what's really going to have to happen if you want 6 SEC teams to get in, it means Kentucky, Auburn, South Carolina, and Florida just take every loss. They don't upset a single team. But that's probably not going to happen. They're like, one of those teams is going to beat one of these 5 teams or beat another team that's competing. LSU's going to pop up and beat Bama or something. And it's going to change things. But for me right now, with Texas A&M and Bama seem almost like locks, like as close as you can get to locks. Georgia, like, they seem pretty close to a lock. Ole Miss and Oklahoma, like, yeah, they play each other, but I just went through all that. What could end up happening is Mizzou and Vandy, like, they're playing for a playoff spot this weekend, like, or at least the chance to compete for one. And I don't know who's going to win that game. And so I didn't want to put either one of them in here. And Oklahoma has the best SP plus of any of the teams in question that we're talking about. I think A&M is the only one ahead of them. And not that that's the be all end all, but I found it interesting. And so we have the knock on Oklahoma for both of us has been the end of the year slate is brutal. Well, guess what, Sam? I think they can lose 2 of those and still get in.
Dude, it's crazy.
So
because I have another one, but go through the rest of them.
Well, the Notre Dame, I have Notre Dame in because I think they're winning out, and I think the committee doesn't leave out a 10-2 Notre Dame.
So you would have Notre Dame, and you're not to spoil it, but your G5 would be South Florida.
My G5 is now South Florida because Memphis lost to UAB, and if you lose to UAB, you can't be trusted. They play each other this weekend. Memphis could win that, and it could change back, but right now I have to have Golish and USF in there.
So it's 2 teams that Miami beat, but no Miami.
Because, Sam, if Miami doesn't play for the ACC title game, I don't think they get in.
Oh, man. This is going to get wild.
So if Miami's 10-2, which at this point feels more likely than them going 11-1.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because they have to go to SMU. They have to go to Blacksburg, which, hey, I know we suck, but you never know. And then they have to go to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh has a quarterback now. And so it's 2 cold weather games for Miami plus SMU. They probably drop another game, and the Florida win doesn't look very good. Like, I
don't question that to like poke at yours. I'm poking at it to prove how insane this season is.
I just think they're going to disrespect the ACC at the end of the day.
That's probably a good bet to make.
That's the thing. I think they're going to let our champion in. And hey, if Miami makes the ACC title game, they're going to be favored over whoever else is in there. But Virginia could fuck it up. Louisville can now fuck it up. And if GT plays Louisville or Virginia, and I don't know who that opponent's going to be, I'm taking GT to win the conference.
SMU's 3-0 in the conference too.
Exactly. SMU can fuck up SMU has a shot
Genuinely forgot they were in the ACC.
Dude,
this year.
they play Louisville at home. They play Miami at home. SMU can fuck up everything.
This season is so stupid.
And they have, SMU has the loss to TCU, who's decent, but they also lost to Baylor, who's like, struggling. And so my one team from the Big 12 is Texas Tech. My one team from the ACC is Georgia Tech. 5 from the SEC. The 3 from the Big 10 and Notre Dame and USF. But yeah, I mean, at one point, Sam, I had 3 ACC teams in here because it seemed like Florida State could win 11 games or 10 games. Well, that went to shit real fast. And so now we're down to 1 ACC team because the conference can't be trusted. Miami can't be trusted. And I don't know what to do anymore. And I know at the end of the day, the committee wants to put more SEC teams in.
I can't wait to see how we're both terribly wrong.
Yeah. I mean, we've already been wrong and changed and all. What I want to do is go back to the first one we did
and see how it's perfectly right.
Yeah. And see how it shakes out at the end. Week 9 games. Ole Miss at OU. We've talked about it a lot already. OU, Oklahoma.
I'm going Ole Miss. I'm going Ole Miss
against the points because
I don't think Oklahoma can score.
I mean, I feel like it's a position where you should take the points. I don't know who's going to win, but I think you should take the points because Oklahoma has a hard time scoring. Although Georgia didn't have any trouble scoring on Ole Miss.
Yeah.
USF at Memphis. Memphis 3.5 point home dogs.
Whatever the over is, I'm betting the over.
I think you take points in this too.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what's going to happen. It's too hard. It's too hard to figure out. Memphis coming off the loss, USF rolling. That seems to me like a dog play, but it's a hard one to pick, dude. Especially since we both put USF in there. So we both kind of think USF is going to win the game, I guess. But I feel like it'll be tight. Mizzou at Vandy. Elimination game probably for one of these teams. Vanderbilt 2.5 point favorites against another SEC opponent.
Missouri handled Vanderbilt's option offense very, very well last year. I understand Vanderbilt's a better team this year overall, but from what I've seen from Vanderbilt's defense, especially their tackling and what we saw last year in this matchup, I do lean Mizzou.
Yeah, I mean, it's Mizzou. The thing you said everything right there. The only thing that I would be weary of is Mizzou playing its second straight road game. And like that Auburn game, it wasn't pretty. They won, but they didn't drape themselves in glory in the process. And so I agree with what you said about them defending Vanderbilt. So I lean Mizzou, but I don't know. I really
it's a tough one.
BYU, I was a total stay away in terms of actually betting. BYU at Iowa State. Iowa State 2.5 point favorites. Iowa State.
That's the stinkiest line I've ever seen in my life.
It's got to come to an end. This is the weekend. It's got to come to an end.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Coming off the Holy War, BYU catches the loss. Iowa State wins. A&M at LSU. LSU 2.5 point dogs in Death Valley.
Hammering the Aggies. Hammering them. Wow. I don't think this game is remotely close.
You don't think this is bounce back? You don't think this is back on home turf?
I don't think this is. Do you think it'll be fire Kelly?
Yeah.
Or what chant do you think it'll be? What form of that chant will it be? That's the only question I have.
Or will it just be a raining down of booze?
I mean, the Brian Kelly, he wasn't ready for this tiger in the cage meme. I'm ready to post that already.
I think
they need to bring Ed Orgeron back to LSU.
I mean, A&M just had a pitiful defensive performance against what is a good offense in Bobby Petrino, which every day that goes by, just for a note, it seems like Petrino is going to get that job.
That's hilarious.
He's
going to get it by 1-score losses to other SEC teams. They're going to be like, yep, good enough.
Because he can keep he can keep Taylon Green. But A&M, Elko's defense looking for a bounce back. That's a bad situation for LSU. Like that is a bad situation for LSU.
Mhm.
Michigan at Michigan State rivalry. Michigan State 14.5
I love that
underdogs
hook.
at home.
I love that hook. Sneaky rivalry game on the road at night, inland, Sparty.
And like Michigan won and covered against Washington, but it wasn't like awesome.
Washington can't travel, dude.
No, they can't.
They can't travel.
Damond Williams threw 3 interceptions. He looked terrible. Like they can't travel. Exactly. I it's hard to bet on Michigan State, but I feel like I'd pick that. Houston at Arizona State. This is a pivotal game in the Big 12 race.
I think this is when Houston falls apart a little bit here.
This is going to be their hardest game. So it would make sense for them to falter here. The only thing we didn't really talk about was Texas going to overtime with Kentucky. There's a lot of things we didn't talk about, but that one like sticks out because Texas just like their offense.
It's sad.
It's bad, dude. They should have lost that game. They
play at Mississippi State. Mississippi State money line is plus 205. I have already bet that money line. And I don't think I'll have to do the thing where I cash out the plus 200 money line team. I think I might just sit on this.
Like that's not even very large, like plus 205.
It's like it's 7.5 points.
Yeah, like that's not large. And Texas was the preseason number 1, you know?
I mean, do you think they do? I don't know, man. Do you think they can beat somebody by 8 points? Chance to go 6-7 this year with a bowl loss in the Military Bowl. No. Pete, do you think that?
Mikey asks a question. Do you think the Hokies have a chance to go 6-7? See, this is, you know what this is? This is a 6-7 joke.
Is it? I don't understand. I'm too old for that.
I mean, I'm too old for it, but
I'll
just think that's what this is.
I'll just pull in I just want to win a game.
Yeah, 6-7. Are you kidding me?
If Virginia Tech scores over 28,
no, I don't think
Friday,
we're going to a bowl. No, absolutely not. I don't think we're going to a bowl. If you want me to answer the question seriously, which I don't think you do, but thank you for the comment. Thomas Train had this question: has Scott Frost been hired anywhere? Yes, Scott Frost is the coach at UCF. Thomas, thank you for always commenting. If you didn't realize it, Scott Frost went back. He went back to home, and now he's going back to the other home. Mm-hmm. He's back at UCF, and he's doing okay. He's doing okay. I was trying to look through these other comments if there's anything that I miss. We appreciate all the commenters. Max and Cheese was in here.
What's the word for tonight?
Oh, there is this one.
There's no doubt in my mind that the quote-unquote committee will screw the pooch on this hire. Tech doesn't have philanthropic fans. I would say that's
from Tenacious B.
Ooh. Oh, that's a good movie. Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. Great Jack Black film. I will say I have no problem with people just assuming the worst with Virginia Tech hiring right now. I have no problem with that. I will say I do think whoever the hire is will get financial backing.
Yes.
I don't know if it's to the point where they've budgeted for, but I do think you will see a significant increase in fan donations, whoever the hire is.
I think so too. And we very well may screw the pooch because Tenacious B, there's no one in charge of our athletic department. They seem to have completely taken all the power away from Whit Babcock and yet still have him as the AD. And so it's very hard to decipher who's in charge and who to blame for this hire because they're definitely trying to spread blame around. That's why they have a committee. Yeah, we'll see. But we thank everyone for watching until the end. Sam, did you come up with a safe word?
Brunswick stew. Full circle.
Yeah, it's better than the last safe word, which was Joseph Smith. And we did get a couple comments. It worked. But thank you for watching. Put in Brunswick stew. I don't think I've ever actually had specific Brunswick stew. I think I've had things that are very close, but maybe not someone that's like actually called it that.
If you just put a bunch of vegetables in a like stewed tomato sauce base, you're pretty much there.
Is it like close to chili? Is there meat in it?
There can be meat in it. There can be like pulled chicken in it is probably the most popular, but it's used mostly with like you can vegetables in the summer, like potatoes, butter beans, your canned tomatoes, carrots.
This is the funniest comment from Thomas. I meant Pat Fitzgerald. I don't know why I said Frost.
Pat Fitzgerald is going to get high. Pat Fitzgerald is going to be a backfill for a G5 school who lost their coach to a big time job.
Thomas mixed up his Big Ten West coaches.
like Scott Frost, Pat Fitzgerald getting the Tulane job makes a lot of sense.
I like what you did there.
Mm-hmm.
I like what you did there. By the way, I was drinking the pumpkin again. We didn't talk about beers tonight. Got a little distracted. Sam was drinking water, but I did have a pumpkin beer because this is one of my favorite pumpkins, if not my favorite this year. And so the Dogfish Head pumpkin, always good. I don't know if I'll have much pumpkin this week, but I probably will have a couple down in Blacksburg. I'm excited. Tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about Blacksburg and what our plans are. So stay tuned for that. And we got to cut this off. Until next time, make sure you're subscribed. Sons of Saturday, YouTube, Too Deep on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Go Hokies.
Go Hokies.